Hi, this is Susan Phelan with Utah Book Scene, and today we have Brett Peterson. And Brett is not an author. Brett is not an illustrator. Well, maybe you are an author as well, but the reason you are here is because you are a publisher.
Indeed.
So this is going to be interesting. I'm very excited to hear about TM Publishing.
Thanks so much. Thanks for letting me come and do this interview.
First of all, tell us, TM, where did you come up with the name?
Well, we settled on that after a couple of iterations because of the reference to trademark, right? We thought that would be a good connection. They're actually my middle initials. My middle initials are Taylor and Michael. My middle names are Taylor and Michael. And those initials together, that name makes up what I find is our internal company logo, company motto, right? Which is victorious enthusiasm. The Taylor and the Michael I'm named after, together to me, represent victorious enthusiasm. So it seemed like a good company slogan to use.
Oh, cool. So there's like triple meaning sort of in there.
Exactly.
I like it.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, you are a brand new publishing company.
Indeed.
Tell me, first of all, what made you decide to be a publisher?
Great question. Actually, I am a writer, but not a published author. So I was writing about 2 years ago, the end of 2011. I'd come back from a summer of study in Cambridge, where I studied writing and education, actually. And there in Cambridge, at that time, 2011, the British publishers and agents and authors and people who would come to speak to us as a class at Cambridge were telling us that publishing was dying, right? That there's no way to make a living in publishing, that write because it's fun, but don't expect to earn any money at it, doom and gloom. And I'd taken economics courses, and I'm a sociologist, and I said, that's wrong, frankly. I don't buy that.
Yay!
Thanks. So when I came home, I started looking at it, and actually had a conversation with a friend of mine. I was looking at self-publishing, some of the stuff I was working on, writing, and polishing up. And I had a conversation with another writer friend of mine and said, it wouldn't be that hard for us to just do our own publishing house and do it right. And at that point, I was in the middle of another entrepreneurial project. I was starting a telecommunications company in Ghana with a friend of mine who later went on to McKinsey Consulting. And we became semifinalists in the BYU Social Venture Competition that year. And so things were going well, but my very far-sighted friend, who again is a consultant now, could see that we would be obsolete about the time we became profitable. So that project was slowly dying. We started to see the writing on the wall. And then he got a job with McKinsey, and so he left the project. And so about the time I had that conversation with my friends, I needed another business venture to go into. And so it hit me very strongly. It was very much impressed upon me in that conversation that, yes, I should start a publishing house and try to do it right.
Okay, so you've got the art side with the writing, and you've got the business side. Oftentimes, writers don't have that side. So you kind of mold together and have just what you need to start a publishing house. So I want to hear what you're doing that is making you feel that you're going to be different and successful.
Excellent. Good. Yeah, definitely. The one thing I've seen in publishing is that there is a lot of organizational inertia in big publishers. Publishing was a pretty static industry for about 200 years, and it works very well for publishers. And so now that Amazon, frankly, has democratized the publishing market, large publishing houses are struggling to keep up. And we're seeing major changes in the industry. I'm sure everybody's aware of, right? I mean, we saw Borders close a couple of years ago. We're seeing Barnes & Noble close about 1,200 stores over the next few years. They just made an announcement a couple of weeks ago. So we're seeing the landscape of publishing change very rapidly. So my opportunity comes because this rather monolithic industry is now in the process of being broken up, and there's a lot of change going on, which is why a small publisher has a shot at all. Right?
And a small publisher you don't have all those years of tradition and size that kind of hold you down.
Exactly. I don't have to worry about firing somebody to make the business go in a different direction, right? At Barnes & Noble, or at Simon & Schuster, you do, right? And maybe a whole department. And business people are people, too. We don't like cutting our friends and associates from their livelihoods, right? I mean, it's very difficult in a large organization especially to make that kind of rapid change. What changes we're making? First, we're pursuing a direct audience. Part of that is, as a publisher, we're trying to develop a brand as a clean publisher. We're not specifically targeting a LDS or Mormon audience, but we're targeting an audience. All of our stuff, all of our published works will without graphic sex or violence.
Okay.
So clean. We won't shy away from tough issues, but they won't be pornographic by any stretch of the imagination. And there's actually a large market for that, and a market that's not being fulfilled. Our competitors here in the Valley do a really, really good job of marketing to LDS readers, but readers of faith or who simply don't want to see pornography in their literature in New York or California or Russia, which is actually one of our largest readerships.
Really?
Yes. Have a harder time finding material. So as part of that, we publish a short story magazine. We have about 1,200 readers right now across the world. About 800 here in the United States, and then a couple hundred in India and Russia, England, South Africa, scattered about. We're going to continue to expand that. So our first difference is we're pursuing markets directly, pursuing customers directly, as opposed to publishing houses which have traditionally worked exclusively through third parties, right? Second, we recognize that the publishing landscape has shifted so that a publisher cannot plausibly and should not morally exert monopolistic power over authors.
Okay.
So our publishing contracts are much different than other publishing contracts. They, instead of going for the life of the copyright, they go for 7 years. And at the end of those 7 years, the author is allowed to renew with us if they so desire.
Ah, okay.
In addition, we try to we're more flexible on some of our negotiations. It's a little technical, so I probably won't go into that here. But we intend to push every one of our books to audiobook, into games, if they're suitable for that, video games or board games, into merchandise, toys, etc. And we intend to market all of our intellectual property throughout the life of the book. Again, this is getting a little technical, so I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm just thinking I want your card when we're done with this.
Thanks, definitely. We can work that out. So that's a little bit more comprehensive approach and less banking. We are less focused on finding a bestseller as opposed to having consistent medium to strong sales for all of our work.
And do you still have your editing, your
cover design, distribution, printing? That's all involved. We pay for that partly, but we don't offer advances to authors, so nobody gets paid until we sell a book.
Okay.
So
that keeps your risk and expenses down.
Exactly. But it also gives us a really strong incentive to sell books. Our editors are paid based on commission for the books.
Right.
For some of them. For the novels, they're paid on commission. And so we really want to sell an author's books. That's how we make a living. Well,
this has been fascinating. I wish I had another 10 minutes, another hour with you.
Thanks.
This is really interesting. But we do have to...
I'm sorry I'm so long-winded.
No, you're not long-winded. It's very interesting.
Thanks.
So, Brett Peterson, thank you. This is Susan Phelan with Brett Peterson, and we're with Utah Book Scene. Thanks for watching.